Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? I see everybody in the comments. This is exciting. All right. How's everyone doing? Welcome in. I think it's fine. It's probably just here. So
We're trying to manage a little bit of an echo, but
yeah,
we'll figure it out.
We'll get there. You guys will let us know if something isn't right.
Mhm.
Well, hello and welcome. I'm so excited that we're on day 2.
Yes.
Of our launch of All Things Jolly. And I think you guys are really excited about this one because we've seen a lot of orders coming in.
Yeah.
And we thank you for that. We know you're gonna love it. You're gonna have so much fun stitching it out. And we appreciate you. So thank you so much for supporting our small business. And if you are on the fence, no worries, because day 2's here and Annie's gonna walk you through more about the trimmer.
Yes, we're gonna trim a block today. I'm gonna sew the top and the bottom of the Christmas tree together today.
Cute.
And I'm going to talk about how to put the backing on it. We'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about how to join all those blocks you see behind us, how to actually put them together and what to sew first and so on and so forth.
Which is going to be super helpful considering there's different size blocks within the quilt.
Right.
So I think today's going to be very helpful. So if you're on the fence, stick around because we're going to have some fun for you. And I think, why don't we just jump in?
Yeah, let's jump in.
Let's jump in. We are going to have a giveaway today.
That's awesome.
We have a $30 giveaway today.
Cool.
So I am going to pop it's a different keyword. I'm like, what did I
do? Days are all
I know. Well, it's a J. I was
That's
like,
right.
It's a 4-letter word that starts with J.
Yep.
But today it's the word join. We're going to be talking about joining the quilt, putting it together and things like that. So that's our keyword for today. So if you have given StreamYard permission to see your profile, you can be entered to win by commenting the word join below, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah. So let's go trim a block.
Let's
and
do it.
Get the trees stitched together.
Mute yourself. I'll unmute her.
Okay, so all right, so here is our block that we did yesterday, or this one I already had stitched out. This one we actually did yesterday. So this is what it was like when it came out of the hoop, and we have this long stretch of battleizer that's here also. So just have to get my up and down on the camera, seems backwards to me, but I'm going to show you how to trim the block. And I'm going to tell you and give you a little hint that this extra right here you can use for maybe 1 or 2 more hoopings. So let's talk about the Trimmer by George. Grab that. This is our Trimmer by George. And by the way, when you buy this, on the packaging there's a QR code. And that will take you to a video on how to use this. That is very in-depth. So I think it's very helpful for you when you keep that. Hang on to the packaging in case you need a little review of that. And also on there, there's another second QR code on there for a free project. So check that out when you get your Trimmer by George. Just don't throw your packaging away. So basically it is an acrylic ruler, and the only difference is this metal edge that you see there. So this metal edge that's here on this side is basically designed to protect the fabric on the front of your blocks. And it doesn't have to be a Hoop Sisters block, and can be any block or anything you make. And this is used to protect the fabric on the front and to give you a straight edge to cut against. And we do recommend using a 60mm rotary cutter. And that way, we have this depth here with the rotary cutter where you only have so much space. And since this metal edge raises your ruler up a little bit, you're going to need a 60. So let me just show you how to use this. You basically, here is our block, and you're going to pull your fabric on the front back. And then you're going to take the metal edge and you're just going to slide it up against that and lay your ruler down flat. And then just give a very gentle tug. And then visually, you're going to peek here to make sure that there is not any fabric sticking out, because we don't want to trim into that fabric. Now, I will tell you with a 60, I can go straight up and down If you try it with a 45, you may have to turn it on its side in order to get it to cut. But the dangers of doing that is cutting that fabric that we're trying to protect with the metal edge. And that's why we suggest a 60 millimeter. So you're basically just going to zip that down the side of the Trimmer by George, and it protects the fabric on the front while eliminating the bulk from the seams. So cool. Such an awesome tool. And I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to trim the other side. And with, as far as trimming the blocks, depending on where it is in the quilt, our instructions tell you where. It does make a difference if any of this, if you rearrange your quilt blocks when you make it. Just keep in mind that if there is a side that's going to end up being like the binding edge, just remember that rather than trimming it like we did, you're going to trim it 1/4 of an inch from the basting stitch. So just something to keep in mind in case you do rearrange your blocks. So I'm going to pull the fabric back. We're going to trim it with the Trimmer by George. And again, we do this on the sides. That's going to have another block joined to it. So I'll just shimmy that metal edge in and lay it down, and just going to do a gentle tug and make sure there's no fabric. And then I'm going to go ahead with that 60 millimeter rotary cutter and trim it away. I will tell you too that you see this little extra scrap I had here? Sometimes when you get to the end, you may have a couple of these. And what you can do to save some money on your battleizer and on your quilt is to take 2 of these and just join them together with a zigzag stitch. So these are the kind of things that are not in our written instructions when you buy the design, but when you watch us, we'll give you lots of little tips like that.
Jacqueline said that her trimmer is a game changer.
It
and
is.
Kathy said that she's got 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, she's got the trio.
She likes all the upgrades along the way.
Awesome. So I'm going to do another side using the metal edge. Again, I'm just pulling the fabric back, shimmy that metal edge in there, do a gentle tug, make sure none of the fabric came out while I was tugging it, and then use the metal edge to trim against with a 60 millimeter rotary cutter. Now I'm going to trim this final side as though this were the binding edge, just so you can see both of them done. You can see we used the green thread yesterday. It's supposed to be water soluble, but it's green, which is great. So now you can see it. And I'll take the 1/4 inch marking on my ruler and put that right on top that green thread. And then I can trim the rest of it away. And I'm just going to show you the back for now. You can see we still have our fabric over here and down here that we need to trim away. And we're just going to trim that away 1/4 of an inch from that green basting stitch we have going on.
While you're trimming, I saw a little while ago, Cynthia Ann said, I know that's the Trimmer by George, but who is George?
Yeah.
So that's a cute story.
You get a
I'd like
little
to share.
Hoop Sisters history lesson. We had a sweet lady who would make she would make some samples for us and read in our instructions and makes notes on them, make sure that they all made sense. And her sweet husband would sit next to her by her side, and he would watch her sew, and just he's kind of like her little sewing assistant. Well, we had a design that we had to do this on. It was probably one of our earlier first ones. And he was sitting next to her, watching her trying to trim. For instance, if you wanted to trim this battleizer and backing fabric, if you had it, up to that basting stitch with the scissors, it is a real likely event that you would end up cutting into this. And the same if you tried to pull it back and lay it down and use your rotary cutter, you would end up slicing into what needs to be your seam. Well, George was a retired tool and die maker, and so he told his wife Martha, yes, we think it's cute because it's George and Martha too. He ran to his workshop, and he came back with the original Trimmer by George, and that one was just all metal. It was a thinner metal, almost like a gutter material. I would venture to guess that's probably what it was. And it was just a straight flat piece of metal that had a crimped edge to it. And it was a game changer. So we've kind of added we added the ruler at one point, and then we went to sturdier metal edge. So those are kind of some of the upgrades that we did with the trimmer by George. And that's the story of how it was invented. So that was a good question. All right, so now we have our 2 top and bottom Christmas tree. So of course, what we're going to do is we are going to put right sides together, and I'm going to pin this. And we're going to talk a little bit about pinning today as well. One of the things important in pinning is what we do not want you to do is pin like this and then go back through. By doing that, you're going to get the 2 top layers to be shifting and end up not aligning the way you want to. So to avoid that, we have you, first of all, you're going to have to find your match points. In this case, we're going to have match point here and over here and also on the corners. So I'm going to put, we have what we call anchor pins. So I'm going to find the very corner of our basting stitch. I'm going to put the pin through there. And then I'm going to find it on the block behind it. And that's my anchor pin. I'm just going to leave my anchor pin going straight through like that. I am not going to bring it back through the block on the bottom, at least not yet, and not that pin. So here's another match point where the Christmas tree and the background fabric line up. I'm going to move my pins. And I am going to put my pin so that it lands right between where the background fabric and the tree is. And then I'm going to put it through the block behind it in the exact same spot. And again, that's just another anchor pin.
Can I pop a comment in that
Yeah.
I want you to answer because I feel like it's a good time for it? Connie
Okay.
asked, she said, I see you left Battleizer at the top. Is that something we should be doing? I think she's referring to where you left it because you're
This side.
not binding.
Oh, yes. This side right here, this side here is where you would have binding. So anytime you have a side of your block that will have binding sewn to it, you just do 1/4 inch through all layers. It's only the sides that will have another block sewn to it, like this side, or for instance, these sides, that you'll use the trimmer by George to remove that battleizer. And so back to pinning, I have it through here. And then I'm also putting it right through, and I'm doing this really slow. When you start doing this, you're going to get a lot faster on it, but I want to make sure I'm telling you everything. So we have our 3 anchor pins. We have now a 4th one. And again, I'm going to go through the corner of the basting stitch on both of these blocks. You may have some blocks where your only match point is the corners. So, but in this particular one, we have 2 that are in the middle. So now that I have my 4 anchor pins in, and I know that my layers are not going to shift, now I can take my permanent pin. And instead of putting it through the battleizer, I'm going to put it just through the seam allowance. So it's going through only 2 pieces of fabric. And by doing it that way, then I know that it's also going to be a little safer that those layers are not shifting. And then I can put it back through. I'll show you. Then it went back through the block. And then I can remove the anchor pin next to it. And I'll do the same thing here. I'll put my pin right next to my anchor pin through just the seam allowance, and then back through the block, and then I'll remove this anchor pin. And I'll just keep going down the line till I have all my anchor pins out. Final one through the seam allowance. I went kind of low there, so you probably can't see. Just through the seam allowance, and then back through the block, and then remove the anchor pin. Now I'm going to go to the machine, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch right on top that basting stitch that you see there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I just have a neutral color thread in the needle and then the bobbin. And I also have a walking foot, or if you have a dual feed walking foot, use that. But I'm going to go ahead and sew this now. And Aubrey's going to entertain you.
You guys are so lucky. I'm going to sing and dance. No, just kidding. I'm not going to do that. So while she's sewing, I do see a couple questions. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I did want to remind everyone that if you pre-registered, if you registered in advance of the event, registration is now closed. But if you did that in advance, you do get this adorable Santa free gift. He is a little ornament that you can put on the tree. And Annie mentioned yesterday, you can also use him for like a gift tag. I thought that was such a cute idea too. Okay, so this is kind of a recap from yesterday. The finished size of the quilt or the wall hanging is 27 inches by 27 inches. You do need a minimum hoop size of 6.02 by 9.02 inches to make this guy because of the different sizes of blocks.
Okay, so I have my seam stitch, and again, I stitch right on that basting stitch. And as I open it up, the next thing you would do, and we're not going to do it here because we're not actually going to complete it here, is you're going to go and you're going to press this. So you can press it to one side. And I would say that if you did use wool in this design, that you get what they call a strip stick. I think Sarah ran to get one because she knew where I was going with this. But remember how I showed the wool that was pressed on the edges yesterday? Well, if you press this with wool in it just on a flat ironing surface, you ended up smashing all that wool and use your loft. So if you did use wool, when you go to press that seam, make sure that you use this little guy called a strip stick. And it's basically it's kind of like a half circle that has lots of padding on it. And that way, when you press it, it's pressing just the seam. It's not pressing into the block. It presses just the seam. And then I always turn mine over and press it again on the other side. And for those who, I know a lot of people want to know, why do you use water-soluble thread in certain steps? Hopefully, I'll be able to get in nice and close here. But you can see, you can see that there is some thread showing there. That is our green basting stitch. And then there's the water-soluble thread on the bottom block. And basically, if you use water-soluble thread, you just dab it and get it wet, and then it's gone, and you don't have to worry about that anymore, and it won't be showing on your block. So that's how you do that, and that's why we use water-soluble thread. And then we're going to pretend that this is the entire quilt, even though it's not. So we're going to do a little pretending today. In the instructions, we tell you what
But it could be.
it
Just
could-
make
it
that.
very well could be. In this case, since I trimmed the sides, I might do a lining instead of a backing on here because I don't have anything to sew the binding to. But this is a piece of fabric that we could use as our backing fabric. And I can't remember the exact size we tell you, but it's in the instruction for the entire quilt how big to cut that. So I just happened to pull this out of the cabinet and realize it's close enough. It's big enough. But we would suggest like maybe an inch or two larger than the size of your entire quilt. And then what you would do to finish with the backing and everything is you would just take some safety pins and you would just start pinning it. You would make sure, of course, this is nice and flat there. If you wanted to tape this to your cutting board, you could. But I think the quilt is a small enough project where it's not that big a deal that you may not need to. But I like to put my pins right in the center. And the reason I like to put them right in the center of the blocks is because you will then, what you'll do is you'll take this to the machine, and we like to use the serpentine stitch. You can, if you don't use wool, you could do stitch in the ditch or the serpentine. If you use the wool, it's very helpful to use just a meandering serpentine stitch to stitch right there. I can go ahead and stitch that too if you have more things to talk about over there. And I'll just use the gray thread so you can see it. But basically, when you use the wool and you use the serpentine stitch, it helps that lay a little flatter. And after you do the serpentine stitch in every seam, you don't have to do it here, just between the blocks. Then you'll go to straight stitch and lengthen it to about a 3.0. And then you can sew right along the perimeter of the block. And then you can, after you do that, then you can just take your ruler and you can cut your backing even with the front of your block. We don't need to stitch a serpentine on there. I think they'll know what that is. But if not, we can talk about that a little more. But then you would just cut this off and put your binding on and you'll be all set. So there's our cute little Christmas tree. Are there any questions then, Aubrey?
Somebody over on YouTube asked, aren't you still gonna have some bulk in the seams even after you use the trimmer? You probably will have a little, but way less.
You will have, and I'll see if I can get this right up to it so that they can see. You will have, of course, your basting stitch. The batting is going on the outside of the basting stitch right there, but you will get pretty stinking close. And having just a little bit of extra there on the outside of that basting stitch is so much better than having a whole 1/4 of an inch there to have to try and sew it together. If you sewed two blocks together having this much bulk in the seam, it is never going to lay flat.
Trying to press it is.
Yeah, and pressing it is a complete nightmare. So yeah, you will have a teeny tiny bit, but it sure beats having a whole 1/4 inch in there.
Okay. Thank you. I am going to just cover a couple more details just to recap from yesterday again. If you guys have any questions, now's a great time to drop them in and we'll make sure that Annie answers them. Okay, so if you want to grab this design, it is adorable and it's just $49.99 and it's got a lot in it.
It does have a lot in it. And we're going to talk too about the location of where some of these blocks are and how you can change it up to make it your own.
Which somebody just kind of asked a question about that. So we will definitely, we have a document we're going to share about that in just a moment too. We do, of course, have this paired with a bundle because you're going to want that battleizer. The 5 yards is the perfect amount for this, which is exciting too. So the bundle includes the design on USB, 5 yards of the battleizer, which is our batting and stabilizer product. And it's 2 products in one. It's what you hoop. It's the first step in the design. And it's what Annie was trimming out of the seams, the bulk there. So if you're not familiar with that, that is a must-have product. And so regularly that would be $83.98, but right now we have it 10% off for an introductory price. So it's only $75.59. And that is only through July 19th. Then the 10% goes away. So it's a great time to grab the bundle. We do have a super cute bonus too. We'll show this to you when we get back on camera. We'll hold it up so you can see it in our hands too. But this is, typically we do a bundle bonus where you have to get the bundle to get the bonus. We're changing it for this time. We'll see how it goes. But if you spend $75 between now and this Friday, July 14th, you can use coupon code JOLLY75. You do need to put the bonus in your cart. It will show $15, but as soon as you put JOLLY75 in, it'll take the $15 off and you'll get it free, which is pretty fun. And it's so cute. We're going to hold that up for you. And we still have right now our former Christmas designs that we've come out of over the years. Do you know we've been in business 15 years?
Yes, I do.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
So Christmas designs from the past, there's a tab on the website called Christmas in July, and I've added some different Christmas things in there. Those are also 10% off now through Friday, July 14th. So if you are going, how am I going to spend $75? We'll make it really easy and you'll get some discounts. Also, it doesn't have to be Christmas items. So if you need a trimmer or you need some of the scissors that Annie was showing yesterday, or just had your mind on another design too, why not do it now and get that bonus? Okay. I see a question. You need to scoot in here.
Okay.
Get in here.
Okay, I'm getting in here.
So Donna said the battleizer is also your stabilizer, correct?
It
no
is.
need to use
Yep,
stabilizer.
it's if you notice the name, it's stabilizer and batting combined. That's why we call it battleizer. She wants me
Let's
to
show
hand
it.
to her. There you go.
Yes. Yes, Donna, the shops who bought who have it in their store, they have all that. They have the bonus, they have the free gift. So check with them and they'll give it to you. So this is the battleizer. This is the 5 yards. This is what it looks like. I will give you a big hint too, if this is a frequently asked question later. So what our shipping girl likes to, if you order the bundle, she likes to slice it right there, just the packaging. And then where'd that thing go?
Oh, here.
Thank you. Then she takes the design and she sticks it inside there just so that it has some extra protection during shipping. So if you get the bundle, your USB is probably in your
Right.
battleizer.
Or you wonder why your battleizer is sliced open.
Yeah.
It's, you know what, it saves from peanuts. Those
Yeah.
are the most annoying things.
Yeah.
Although the bubble packaging is kind of fun.
Oh, well,
I'm
not
just
if you
saying.
give it to kids. Then you're like, knock it off. But yes, you can get battleizer. This is the 5 yard. It's the perfect amount for this project, but we do also have it in 15 yards on the website. So you could get that 15 yards and get the bonus because it's over 75. So yes, we definitely do. What other questions?
Oh, let's see. Buy it by the volt.
That surprised Kathy in the
Okay.
past. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just making sure we got all these. Can the battleizer scraps be stitched together?
Yes, absolutely. If you're gonna save your scraps so you can stitch them together, trim the sides of your block first. That way you'll have the 2 little strips of battleizer from the sides, and then you just butt them up against each other and zigzag them together. So as you're making something, just keep a basket or a pile of battleizer scraps, and you can certainly do that. And
Is
then
it-
rehoop it.
That's a good question, Paula. Is it hard to sew on vinyl?
No.
She likes to do it, so it must not be.
Well, with your embroidery machine, if you're since the embroidery machine's doing it, your embroidery hoop's hopping up and down and it sews on vinyl very easily. Versus a sewing machine where you'd need like a special Teflon foot in order to make it slide across it. But yeah, we have a few things. We have our Calla Lily design that is basically the bottom block is a big mason jar where we use vinyl on there to mimic glass. And it works pretty slick.
I think you also used it on All Good Things.
Yes, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the measuring cup.
So
On All
she
Good- yeah,
uses
I have
it
here.
frequently, so I'm pretty sure it's probably not bad, or she wouldn't do it.
Yep, you can see it here on
Yeah.
the measuring cup.
Someone asked to see the bonus again, so I was just holding that up. It's 2 5-inch blocks, treats for Santa, adorable.
It is adorable.
And if you have like 10 grandkids, you could whip 10 of
my
these
gosh,
things out.
you could whip them out. They're
Yeah.
very fast, and it's kind of fun and nice little thing to give to your grandkids.
And to get that, you just need $75 in your cart, $75 worth of product, and add the bonus for 15, and then use coupon code Jolly75, and it'll take the $15 off. Okay. All right. Now you want to talk about your
I wanted
putting
to,
it together?
Yes, there's a document in with your design that's called All Things Jolly, Putting It All Together. And so we're going to just go over that and talk about it today. And I thought it would be important to talk about it because we are doing blocks that aren't just all one square size block, but you've got rectangles, squares, and then you got that little tiny 25 block that's right smack dab in the middle of the quilt. So first of all, so it becomes a little bit, you can look at that and wonder, how in the world am I going to get that together? We show you how. We're going to talk about it today. And one of the things I want you to take a look at on that too is that all those sections you see there, you can scramble them up any which way you want to. So if you wanted to take the nutcracker and put it where the Christmas tree is, or you want to take the nativity scene and the Christmas tree and switch around, you can go ahead and do that any way you want to, which makes it kind of fun as well. Just keep in mind that if you, when you go to trim your blocks, keep in mind how you want it laid out prior to trimming, because it could make a difference on how you trim your blocks.
That's a good
But
point.
we also probably should give them a little tip on case they do trim it wrong. You can just cut a little scant 1/4 inch piece of battleizer and then get some glue and glue it into that seam. And believe me, I've done that a few times as well. when
I
we've
love
made
it.
those mistakes.
I love it when people get creative too. Like you're talking about mixing, matching,
Mhm.
moving them around in the quilt, but Chris is even thinking make several of the tree blocks and turn it into a
Yes.
table runner. That's a great idea
that
too,
is
Chris.
there's so many things I just can't wait to see what you guys are going to put on Facebook, what you've done with this design. You need to share so we can all get inspired to do it. So this page here talks about basically we're going to look at the one section in the upper left-hand corner where the Nutcracker and the ornament and the Santa Claus is. So of course you're gonna give the Nutcracker his head, and you're gonna sew that seam on first. And make sure that you use any of your any match points that you want that are in there. And make sure you use your walking foot, and you're going to sew those two blocks together right on the basting stitch like I showed you earlier. And remember, if you have wool in there, when you press it to one side, that you're going to use your strip stick. And then you're going to sew, you can go ahead and sew the ornament to the Santa, and then you can sew those two sections together as well. And you're going to repeat that for the other 4 sections that you see towards the bottom of the document. You can see all the 4 sections with the 25 in the middle. So you complete your 4 sections the way you want them. And then,
And by the way, this document is included, so
Yes.
it's really little on the screen, but it's going to be in
Yes,
with your design.
it's full size when you look at it, printed out on
Yeah.
paper. Okay, so what you're going to do to deal with that little 25 block that's in there is you're going to take him, you're going to pin him to the Santa Claus block, and you're going to line the basting stitches at the bottom of both of those blocks. So the bottom of the Santa Claus basting stitch and the bottom of the 25 block basting stitch, you're going to align those. That's your match point. And then you're just going to sew that to it. So now you have a really weird looking section, but it's okay. But then you're going to take that and you're going to press the seams to one side on that as well. And then after that, you're going to, as you can see, once you add that 25 block on there, the section below it that has the longer edge going horizontal, it is now going to match that section. So you can take the stocking and reindeer section and lay it right sides to your Nutcracker and your Santa and your 25, pin like we showed you, sew the seams right on the basting stitch, press your seams towards the Nutcracker section. It's important that you press your seams in the direction that we tell you here from here on out. So you'll press it towards the Nutcracker section. So now we're going to move around. I feel like we're going counterclockwise. I'm putting this together. But now you're going to place the tree, the bottom right section, which is the tree, the wreath, and the nativity scene. You're going to put those right sides together to the reindeer, the 25, and those light bulbs. And you're going to sew the seam there, and you're going to press the seam to one side. I did not put in here which side, so maybe it didn't matter there. I don't think it matters in that particular case. So then after that, we have our final seam. And on our final seam, you're going to place the top right section. As you can see, is that we in the same picture? Yep. You're going to place it right over the top of the first section, which was where the Nutcracker is. So you have your right sides together. You're going to pin and sew that seam, and you're going to stop right when you get to the 25 block. Okay, and then you're going to press the seam toward the top right section. So you're going to press the seam towards the little pickup truck. And then you're going to just, after you do that, you're going to lay the top half over the bottom half, and you're going to do that final seam there, starting at the 25 and going all the way over to the right side. So I know that's a lot to go over right there, but as you can see, it all comes together quite nicely.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Speaking of it all comes together quite nicely, I see Joanna on YouTube asked, wouldn't it be better to sew the seams open to reduce the amount of fabric in the seams? I'm going to bet you don't have a Trimmer by George yet, because if you try it, you'll realize that's just like an extra step that you really don't need. I would say get one and try it.
Yep.
And you will be surprised.
And I would also say, even with the battleizer removed from the seams by using the Trimmer by George, if you have a block, and this quilt probably doesn't apply to that, but if you have a block that has maybe some applique or lots of seams going into the edge of your block, so you have all that fabric that's in your seam now, if you want to press those open, because it just tends to want to lay that way, by all means, go ahead and press that seam open.
Okay.
There's no seam pressing police.
You do what you think works best for you. this person said, would it not be too cute with the nutcracker and the tree side by side?
Oh,
That would be cute.
it would. Absolutely. Just think of all the different arrangements. I thought about putting a document in there with different layouts and stuff, but then as I started getting into it, I realized there's
too many.
Too many.
You won't think of them all. That's why Nina, this is Nina who works here with us, and she says it just right. Let your creativity flow.
Yep.
Do what works for you. Okay, I have a
Absolutely.
big vinyl question, Annie. I'm gonna
Okay.
let you.
All right. Can you read that to me?
Yes. Okay, with the vinyl, so along the same lines, you're using the clear over the blocks on projects. What about using colored vinyl?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
see those light bulb ornaments in a glossy vinyl.
Oh.
Would that be an issue? That would be cool.
Well, here's the thing you're going to want to remember is if you're going to use vinyl in place of fabric, your striped background is going to show on those light bulbs. If you want to lay it down with the fabric and tack it down with the fabric, you can do that. The 25 block, you're going to tack down the fabric. It's going to do a satin stitch, and then you lay the vinyl, and it does, I think it's a triple run line around it. I have not tried laying the vinyl down where it does a satin stitch over, because my fear is it could tear the vinyl. And those particular designs are that block that has the light bulbs in it. It's only a satin stitch to lay the fabric down. So I hope that makes sense. But I mean, try it on a scrap and see. And if it doesn't appear to want to be tearing or anything, I say go for it.
Okay, and then I did pop the customer service stuff up. I'll do it again because I saw a couple people in the comments miss the bonus. We'll get you taken care of. And then Joanne on YouTube had another question. She said, for the serpentine stitch and connecting the blocks, are you trying to match the thread to the background fabric?
Okay, when we do the serpentine stitch, we use, I like to use Superior Threads monopoly. It's an invisible thread, and it's fabulous. It's very thin. You do not hardly notice it. You can iron it. It's fabulous.
I love going to shows and people ask about joining and we say we use monopoly and they're like, well, I don't see it. And then once you point it out, they're like, oh, I didn't even notice it before. And it happens every time. No one's ever like, I see where you joined that. It's, you really got to search for it.
You do. You really
Especially when there's lots of quilting and things like that. I'm going to sneeze. I think my allergy pill's wearing off.
I saw somebody still said Facebook user, so they are not letting StreamYard permission to put their name on there.
Well, Sarah had the same thing happen. And she said, for whatever reason, if you gave StreamYard access and you're still, sometimes people have their privacy settings really high on Facebook, but she can watch it on YouTube and her name shows up, but it doesn't on Facebook.
I just want to make sure they were in the drawing.
Okay. Do you know this one, Annie? Pop quiz. What width do you use for your serpentine stitch?
There is a particular, I can look at it if you want to maybe go to another question. I can see what the width is. Let me go do that.
I don't see any other questions yet, but Connie said she uses her Trimmer by George for everything. We've heard that so much that people use the Trimmer by George for even not Hoop Sister stuff, but all the things. But Battleizer too. We've heard people say that with our Battleizer too.
Looking for it. Here we go.
She's digging through her machine. She's going to find out, Kathy.
It says 5.0, and I do not adjust. Width is 5.0, and I do not adjust the width or anything like that. And some serpentine stitches are really tight. The one I chose on my machine is a very open kind of stitching. So I know a lot of times you can grab any stitch and you can kind of manipulate the length and the width and stuff like that. So I prefer to use one that's more open rather than a tight curve.
Okay.
Real technical.
Well, you gave her the number. I think that was a great answer. I bet she feels good about it.
If not, call me.
If not, let us know, Kathy. All right. So just a quick reminder, now's your last chance to type the word join in the comments. We're going to do a $30 store credit giveaway. And it's also the kind of last chance if, well, I mean, you can always call us or email us, but if you have questions you want Annie to answer on here live. Oh my gosh, now they're coming in quick. So hold on.
Took them a minute
Yeah.
to type.
You must be a Janome girl. I think that's the one on the quilting page. Yeah, we do use Janome, but we love all brands.
Right.
And it's all multi-formatted.
And I'm sure you all have a serpentine stitch.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. I stole an
Allergies.
allergy pill from her earlier and she goes, well, they are expired. And now I'm like, I don't know if it's a placebo effect just because now I know it's expired,
Oh, no,
but
they're
I'm
fine.
struggling.
Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Let's put
We're
this
just
one up.
scanning questions, make
yeah.
sure we got them all.
When you use monopoly, do you use it in the bobbin also?
Yes.
But when you use Vanish Light,
Vanish
what about
Light's
Vanish
for a
Light?
different
I know,
purpose.
but then you don't use
Right.
it in both.
Right. Then we only use the Vanish Light. The water soluble thread is only used in the needle with embroidery bobbin thread in the bobbin.
Okay, I'm gonna do this giveaway.
Okay,
That's
let's
what
do
you're
it.
all hanging on here for.
They're like,
So
come
let's
on.
do it. Okay. You got 77. We had more of you on here than that. Come on, type join. Hurry, hurry. All right, let's see who it is today. We love our giveaways.
Slowing down.
It is.
Oh,
Cool.
Marsha Gray.
Marsha, congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, so Marsha, what you're going to want to do is email nina@hoopsisters.com. And I'm going to pop that up here because she will help you too if you're having trouble with your order or you didn't get your bonus right or any of that. But Marsha, you go ahead and email her, let her know that you won $30 in store credit today, and she will add that to your account. And the last thing that I want to say before we get off of here is that we're having an open house August 26th. It's a Saturday. And we're so excited, and we're moving the Christmas tree in there and a couple other things after this. And we are located in Lima, Ohio. So I don't know where you guys are all at. You should let us know in the comments where you're at. Let us know if you're coming, if you planned a road trip. I think we're like 6 weeks away.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And we'd like to have you register.
yes.
Do we have a link for registering there? But
Yeah.
we would like to have you register that way. We're going to be making some goodies, some snacks, and we also are getting ready some little bags.
Not little.
Some big,
Some major
awesome
swag bags.
Yep. You guys are going to love it.
And-
Something brand new you haven't seen yet.
Well, yeah, and other things.
But you have to be here in person.
You have to be here in person. And originally we were going to do 20 swag bags. That's what we said in the beginning.
In the beginning.
But you guys, if you've been hanging out with us for a while, you know we like to go a little extra. We like to give a lot. But it's fun.
It is
I think
fun.
we've given away, we figured out the other day it was like 12 freebies this year, and it's only July. Deb, you're coming? Oh, she's in Ada. Well, yeah, you better come.
We'll come get you.
Yeah. But anyways, we went from 20 swag bags to 200 swag bags.
Yep.
The catch is you have to register and you have to be here. So a lot of times our free gifts are through downloads. This is in person, baby. So come hang out with us in Ohio. Patsy says her friend Terry's going to be here.
Awesome.
Well, and we know that not everyone can get here. We understand. But if you can make the trip, what a fun thing to do. Like get some girlfriends together.
I know.
Hoop sisters or hoop misters and come and hang out. We're going to have some demonstrations. We have we're going to have like a whole room set up for shopping. Annie's making snacks. I mean,
well, Sarah and I, it's not just me because we're going to need backup.
yeah.
But we're going to be baking for you and have some yummy treats and some refreshments for you and a swag bag and
the swag bags
and some shopping.
Oh,
It'll be
and
fun.
you're going to get early access.
Ooh.
early
Right.
access to a couple designs that have not come out yet this year. So it's the place to be. For those of you who cannot come in person, we will do something special for you. So don't panic. But we do a ton online. So this will be the first time that we're going to do something in person. So we're just trying to have some fun with it.
Yep.
Anyways, you're invited. We want you here. We want you to hang out with us. And I know Nina dropped the link in. So if you're planning on coming, please, please, please register so that we can get some planning and things in place. So, all right. Hey, Wanda, Nina was just in North Carolina. She could have stopped by and saw you. That is far though. We used to live in
Yeah.
North Carolina,
Yeah.
so we know
we
how
got
far
some
that is.
people coming from far away. At least that have
Yeah.
registered, but will they make it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
We'll
don't
see. And I've
Yep.
seen a couple people register for more than one person, like more than
Yeah.
one. So
Yeah.
there's some gangs of women coming this way, and I'm excited about it. Nina put the address in too. So it's on it's also the Hoop Sisters name, or the Facebook name is Hoop Sisters. So if you're looking for us on Facebook, it's under Hoop Sisters. Our group is Hoop Sisters VIPs. But check it out. And on the website, you can get all of the open house details under the open house tab. It has the registration link and as well as
The date and time and
time.
address.
Yeah, it has all those details. So if you're going to come while you're shopping for all things Jolly, just add that open house registration to your
Yeah.
cart. So
Yeah. We'd love to see you.
yes. Okay. I think that's all we got for today, but we appreciate you all
Yep.
so much. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thanks for supporting our small business. And we'll probably come back to do something next Wednesday.
Yeah. We got to figure out what it is.
I
unless you
know.
got a plan.
Not right now.
But we'll see you next Wednesday.
All
Thanks for
right.
watching.
Bye.
Bye.